So, children, I think there was some problem in the audio, right? I think now I'm audible enough. So, first of all, I just welcome you on a very, let's say, key shorter note. And now, since today we have Buddh Purnima, right? And I hope on this auspicious day, we all are enjoying with our families. And please don't forget the teachings of Buddha, right? Now, as I was saying that, okay, just a minute. Okay, fine. So, please just pardon me for that. Okay, sorry, children. I think there is some audio problem, although I have tried my best. So I'll just get back to you with this video. And basically, this video was about I asked you the question, right? Uh, okay. Now I asked you the question that who is the Indian Nobel laureate, right? Who has recently won the prize? Not recently, in 2011, he won the prize, right? And the answer is yes, most of you have given me the right answer. And the answer now is Abhijit Banerjee and his wife, Esther Duflo, and one more person who shared this prize was Premier, right? Now, these three persons have won the prize the year 2011, and basically their work was how to alleviate poverty. Right? They focused that if we give aids to people, right? If we give subsidies, if we give goods free of cost to people, that will not going to work, right? Or whether it will work or not, it is uncertain. Based on that, they have given their theory, right? And basic purpose was how can we eradicate poverty globally, right? So that was the answer, and there was quite a good response from you people. And I would just like, as I promised, that I'll be naming those students who will give me the right answer. And I said I'll be naming first five students, right? Now, since there were so many answers, right? So many of you posted your answers. I appreciate your effort and expect the same cooperation from you in future. So first of all, I'm just announce the names very fast who posted me the correct answer within right time. Soham Jain, Hardik Bhatia, then Anuj Jain, Lakshit Malik, Kushi Kelly, Niharika Bindal, Harshit Jain, Yashika Daya, Rashi Taneja, Sitara, Harshit Gupta. Harshit Gupta was the one who gave me some extra information also. Very good, Harshit. Hardik, then Ashish Pasrija, right? These were the ones I have shortlisted. Although I said five, I have crossed that limit because your response was very good. Thank you, children. I hope to get the same response from you in future as well. Okay. So now, since I was on the poverty alleviation programs on itself, and we were talking about the wage employment programs, right? Now, the wage employment program, basically, we say, are these are those programs which under which poor people can work and earn wages, right? Means their work will be exchanged for income, money. So such type of programs, schemes are called as the wage employment programs. Now, under this, we already covered one scheme, that was your Sampoorn Gramin Rozgar Yojana, right? I covered this scheme here. What was the main aim? The main aim was to provide supplementary wage employment, right? And to those people who are ready to take up some labor intensive work, right? And under this scheme, these people will be provided food grains as well as cash. Means some payment will be done in terms of food grains and some payment will be done in terms of cash, right? Now, the second one I was talking about, or I'm supposed to take up right now, was National Food for Work program. See, this National Food for Work program basically started in the year 2004, right? Now, generally, what we do is now this scheme is not into implementation because this scheme has been incorporated in Manrega, the one which you are seeing on your slide. Okay, but a little bit of extra information, right? That National Food for Work program was started in the year 2004, and the main objective of this scheme was to intensify the supplementary wage employment. Means people are working, they are regularly working in one occupation. Besides that, they can take up some other occupation also. That means a part time they can do, right? So that means to generate supplementary wage employment. That was the main purpose of National Food for Work program. So now under this scheme, right, when the scheme was implemented as such, so there were 150 backward districts of the country which were benefited out of this scheme, right? And this scheme was 100% centrally sponsored scheme. So now, since this scheme has been merged with Manrega, right? That is Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. So now we will be mainly talking about Manrega only. Okay. So now, if I talk about Manrega, right? Now, see, it is important to remember the year or the time when these schemes were incorporated. Okay, so when Manrega was started, it was in August 2005. Parliament passed a new act to provide guarantee wage employment to every rural household. Means this scheme was basically for the rural household in which the adult volunteers, means those adult persons who are ready to take up any unskilled manual work, right? So this scheme was open for those people. Firstly, people living in rural areas. Secondly, people, those who are ready to work should be the adults. Okay. Then they should be ready to take up any unskilled manual work. Unskilled, as again and again I've told you, is that unskilled basically means that where you don't have to undergo any specific type of training, right? Means no professional training is required to take up such work, like the workers who are working at the construction site. To take that work, there is no professional course to be undertaken, right? So similarly, we say those people who are ready to do all these unskilled manual work, they will be given job, they will be given employment for a minimum of 100 days in a year. Purpose was that if they will work for these 100 days and they'll take up some unskilled manual work, that means they will gain experience, and then after that they'll be, let's say, they'll be quite comfortable in taking up the job in some other fields also. So that was the main purpose, although obviously they'll be paid for these 100 days, right? So it's not that they'll be doing the work free of cost. No, they'll be paid, right? Now the second important point is that all those among the poor who are ready to work at the minimum wage can report for work in areas where this program is implemented. Means those people, if this scheme is available near their area, near their home, near their homes, or the areas where they are living in, so then only they can take up these jobs, or they can take do this unskilled manual work for 100 days, right? Means they need not go to far off places. Okay, that was another important point that was kept in mind while framing this scheme. And in the year 2013 and 14, nearly 5 crore households got employment opportunities. Okay, so this scheme expanded, and when it was expanded, that is when your national food for work program was merged with this scheme. So the result was that 5 crore people got employment opportunities, means they got the benefit. Now, next we have the third approach. The first approach, as I talked about, was the growth oriented approach, right? Where we talked about if we introduce, or if we introduce certain changes in one of the sectors, the benefits or the results we observe in that sector will flow down to the other sectors also, right? And there we talked about industries, means bringing up new industries, right? Industrial development. And we talked about green revolution there, right? The agriculture sector. And we also further noticed that if there is green revolution adopted in agriculture sector, production increased, and the effects of increased production in the form of increased income were experienced by people working in other sectors as well. So this is what we mean, or what we call as the trickle down effect. Yes, I know you guessed it right. Okay, so the second program we have was your poverty alleviation programs. Please remember the 5-year plans in which these programs were initiated. Growth oriented approach was initiated in the first and the second 5-year plan. Poverty alleviation programs, they were implemented in the third and the fourth 5-year plan, right? Why was there a need for poverty alleviation programs? Yes, yes, just give it a thought. Yes, okay. So now let me give you the answer. Poverty alleviation programs were required basically because the policy workers, right, wanted to start some new schemes where employment can be generated along with the production of additional assets. Okay, so that was the main purpose of bringing in the poverty alleviation programs. And then there poverty alleviation programs, two types we have studied, right? That is self employment schemes and the wage employment schemes, right? So after we are done with the poverty alleviation programs, the third scheme is your minimum needs program, right? Now, under this minimum basic needs program, can also be this scheme can also be called as minimum basic needs program. If you people remember, I right in the beginning told you that minimum basic needs program was initiated so that government could increase its expenditure on providing basic needs to the people. Okay, basic needs means it will be increasing its expenditure on education, health, food, right? So that people are able to move or come above the poverty line. That was the main purpose. Okay. Now, as before this program, there were many policies and the programs which generated or which provided employment opportunities, right? The previous two approaches we have studied there, employment opportunities were generated for the people. But what result we have seen was that the result was that many poor people, right, many poor people were, although getting the they were getting the employment, but they were not able to buy certain essential goods because some amount of their income was used for buying the daily requirements of life, and some amount of income they used for meeting their leisure time activities. Okay, so because of that, the essential goods were not available to people in the required quantity as it was fixed by the government. So this particular program was initiated. Now, under this program, people were provided with the basic needs, right? That is food grains, like still we have the food grains are being provided through the ration shops, right? I don't know how many of you are familiar with this concept. Now, since we are in a lockdown, you have your grandparents and parents at home. Please just talk to them about the functioning of ration shops, because at that time these shops were very much in existence. So I would like all of you to just just have a word with them regarding the functioning of ration shops. Yes, I'll discuss that, don't worry, but I want you to gather some knowledge before. Okay, so now, the food grains were distributed through ration shops. Similarly, free education, health facilities, and housing facilities, all these things will be provided to poor by the government. The basic purpose, as we know, is was to increase the standard of living of these people. Okay, so that was the main purpose of minimum basic needs program. Now, this program was started in fifth plan. We started this program in the fifth plan, right? So it's important, as I said, to know the plans when which program was started. Now, minimum basic needs program, basically it aimed at making provisions for elementary education. Elementary education, we have talked about elementary education, health, nutrition, electrification, water supply, and particularly all these facilities should be provided to the people living in backward areas. Okay, so that was the main purpose of minimum needs program. Now, this program further in India, if I talk about specifically in India, this was among the pioneers in the world. India was the pioneers in the world to visualize that people's living standards could be improved through public expenditure on social consumption needs. Means India was the, we say, pioneer leader in the world to realize that if you want, or if we want to increase the standard of living of our people, that standard of living of people can be increased if government incurs. Public expenditure means expenditure of the government. Okay, if government incurs expenditure on social consumption needs, means the consumption needs of the society. And what are the basic consumption needs? Again and again I am stressing on that. The basic consumption needs are food, cloth, shelter, education, and health. Okay, so that was the main we say purpose. Okay, now I have given you the example down, like food grains should be provided at subsidized rate, free education or subsidized education, free health facilities, water supply, clean, let's say clean drinking water should be available to people, and people should be aware of good sanitation. So that is what was covered under minimum needs program. Now under this approach, programs are expected to, okay, programs are expected to first of all supplement the consumption of the poor, means whatever goods they are consuming, in addition to that, in addition to those goods, they should be given some more goods for their consumption. So this is what is what we mean by supplement the consumption of the poor. Secondly, side by side, create employment opportunities. Side by side, create employment opportunities means those works should be undertaken wherein people will work and they will earn incomes also. Means they are not totally depending on government. Okay, they are not doing any work and still they are expecting that government will provide them with all the consumption needs free of cost. No. Okay, and the third was that to bring improvement in the health and education condition of the poor. Obviously when they will get food grains, sufficient quantity of food grains from government, they'll get free education, so their standard of living will definitely increase. Okay, now to achieve all these goals, that is supplement the consumption of poor, create employment opportunities, bring improvement in health and education, some major instruments were used or some major programs were initiated, were implemented. Now the first one was public distribution system. Yes, you just recall your memory. Yes, in class 10th, somewhere we have touched the concept of PDS in short, right? Now, I want you to just give me the answer to what does PDS or how does PDS work, right? Please mail this answer to me right after the class gets over. Okay. Now, second was the integrated child development scheme, right? Now, and third was the midday meal scheme. Midday meal scheme is still in continuation, where basic purpose is that the children belonging to poor families, right, when they will attend, if they attend the school, there they will be given lunch free of cost, nutritional meals will be given to them at free of cost. So the basic purpose of government was so that the children living in the poor families will be encouraged to come to school and acquire education. Otherwise, what was the scene? Parents were forcing their children to go and take up some work so that this will increase the income of the family. So now when they are provided with nutritional meals in school itself, so parents started sending their children to schools. In basically this was in the rural areas. We have even in urban areas also. Okay, right? So that was the main concept of minimum basic needs. Now we have next scheme, that is the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. Yes, yes, this has been launched recently. Very good. Right. So this was launched in the year 2004, right? And under this scheme, people in India are encouraged to open bank accounts. Okay. Now, before demonetization, if you people remember, there was a lot of stress paid on this scheme. Sorry. A lot of stress was laid on this scheme because the main purpose was that if people have their bank accounts, all the transactions, right, will be done through banks. And if they open their bank accounts, this will promote the habit of saving among these people, so that for future they have some amount with themselves and they can safeguard their future, right? So this scheme basically promoted savings among saving habits, right? And those who opened a bank account were some given some additional benefits also. Now, what were those additional benefits? The additional benefits given by the government were that these people were given 1 lakh as accident insurance and rupees 30,000 as life insurance cover. So these were the benefits. Okay. Now, another important feature of this scheme was that under this schemes, those who were or those who wanted to take subsidies from government, the amount of subsidies was not directly given into their hands now. Earlier, these poor persons were given cash in their hands, but now with this scheme, government now transferred the amount of subsidies into their bank accounts. Okay, so that was another, we say, purpose, so that now to get the subsidies, people will be forced, poor people will be forced to open their bank accounts. So this was all about Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, started in the year 2004, right? Now, in this, basically, Jan Dhan Yojana means has something to do with money, right? So, here people were encouraged to open their bank accounts. Okay. After doing that, purpose was that to promote savings so that people fall into the habit of saving money, right? And then along with that, another reason was that the subsidies which these people will get will directly be transferred into their accounts. Third was benefits which they derived out of this scheme was that 1 lakh rupee was given as accident insurance if they met with some insurance accident, sorry. So 1 lakh rupees will be covered under insurance, and then rupees 30,000 as the life insurance cover. That was the benefit. The next scheme we have is the National Social Assistance Program, NSAP. So please, the main key features of each scheme you should know, because at times simply it can be asked that which scheme, under which scheme the bank people are forced to open their bank accounts. You have to name the scheme. Okay. So similarly, in between the schemes, whatever the explanation we have, points we have, right? You can be asked the questions. Okay. So now the National Social Assistance Program, right? This scheme was initiated by central government, right? And this started on 15th August 1995. Okay. Now, under this program, the elderly people who do not have anyone to take care of themselves, as we see now, so many NGOs are there who are picking up these elderly old people from the streets, right? So they are taking, these NGOs are taking care of these elderly people. So the such type of people, right? Children who are not taking care of their parents when they grow up. See, children, this is really a very bad situation. Please take care of your parents at every stage, right? This is what we can just give them. Okay, they are very precious, so please take care of elderly people at home, respect them, love them, and spend time with them. That is the most important thing we can give them. Okay, so now under this scheme, coming back to the scheme, elderly people who do not have anyone to take care of themselves, these people are given pension from the government to sustain themselves, right? Although pension is not a very big amount, if I talk about, but still at least they have something in their hands, right, through which they can sustain themselves. They can meet certain basic needs, their basic needs, maybe the basic needs of food, maybe the basic needs of medicines, right? So that is what we expect from this scheme, right? Secondly, it also covers those poor women, right, who are destitute. Destitute, again we say, means those who are not been taken care of by her family members, right? So such people who are not being looked after by their children, by their family members, basically this scheme aims to provide help to those people. So poor women who are destitute and widows are also covered under this scheme, right? So national social assistance means helping the society, right? And the helping the society basically aims at helping the elderly poor, right, plus the poor women, right, and the widows who are not being looked after by their families. So what government is doing? Central government is doing, central government is giving them pension, right? So pension amount, the amount of pension which government is providing to them is being taken out from the taxes we pay. So please don't evade the payment of taxes. Indirectly we are helping these people. Okay, so let's be honest in paying taxes. Okay, now since we have initiated these programs, although there were very, let's say, if I talk, very less benefits of these schemes, right? Just there were some states who performed well in reducing poverty after the implementation of these schemes. Very few states could derive the benefit of these schemes, and this was evident as the number of absolute poor decreased in these states. And the number of absolute poor decreased, when I say, that means it was below the national average, right? Now you have to tell me, first I said you just let me know after the class is over the working or the functioning of public distribution system. And the second thing is, what is the current national average of poverty? Okay, to define poverty, what is the current national average, right? So please send these answers to me on my mail ID, right? Now, this was the only benefit, right? Now, there were certain challenges that were faced by these three-dimensional approaches, right? Three-dimensional approaches, please remember: growth oriented, poverty alleviation, and minimum basic needs program, right? So these three approaches faced certain challenges. Now, the first challenge I'm talking about was that there was lack of resources, right? Now, the lack of resources means the resources which we possessed or which were distributed under these schemes were not at all enough as compared to the extent of poverty. Means poverty was being experienced on a larger scale, and to meet the needs of these poor people, the resources were not enough. They were not distributed properly, right? Because there was when the facts were collected, data was collected by NSSO, right? National Sample Survey Organization. This is one institution, organization which collects data on poverty. Okay, so when the data were collected, it very clearly showed that still there was hunger, malnutrition prevalent in the Indian economy, right? So that was the one drawback or the challenge faced by these programs. Second was that there was lack of infrastructure. Yes, infrastructure, just recollect your memory again. Infrastructure basically means the basic facilities which are required to produce goods in the economy. Okay, so that is what we say, like banking, transportation, insurance, industries. So these are all the basic services, facilities which we need to build further goods and services in the economy. So there was lack of infrastructure also. If we have very, let's say, we have large number of industries, if we build large number of industries, so people will get employment, and when people will get fresh employment, that means their earnings will increase, and thus they will be able to come out of poverty. Okay, but this was not exactly what happened in the economy. So infrastructural facilities or infrastructure development should be more in the economy. So we were facing this problem that we were not having sound infrastructure in the economy. Third was that there was lack of active participation of poor people. Now, if I talk about poor people, with poor people, local institutions were not giving their best in implementation of these policies. Local institutions, when I talk, I am referring to gram panchayats, municipalities. So municipalities and gram panchayats, they were not they didn't implemented these policies properly. Okay, they were not coming forward, right? And moreover, along with this, the poor people were not taking these policies seriously, in the sense that government started these plans for the basically government started these plans for the poor people. Now, if poor people don't come forward to take the benefit of these policies, then obviously these policies are of no use. Like I take the example that government took out certain schemes. Now, one of the scheme was the one where these poor people will be given the financial assistance. Financial assistance means loans. Okay, so if government say takes out a scheme where certain criteria is been fixed, and then it says that these poor people will be given loans, right? But if poor people don't go to banks and apply for these loans, then these schemes are of no use to us. Okay, so that is what we mean by there was lack of active participation of poor people, right? So poor people should also come and take the benefit of these schemes. Next was that unequal distribution of assets. Unequal distribution of assets basically means that land basically asset, if we talk about in agriculture sectors, the benefits of land distribution, ceiling on land holdings, one of the example, right? So benefits of all these uh, policies that were taken up by the government were taken away by non-poor. Actually, they were taken away by non-poor, means the rich people. These schemes are meant to benefit the poor people, but actually they benefited the richer sections of the society. Reason being because they have the purchasing power, they have money, they have power in the society. So with that power, they were able to take away all the benefits. And the last was improper implementation. Now, improper implementation basically means that the poverty alleviation programs that were implemented, basically their success depended on the bank officials, government, who were the ones actually, they were the ones to enforce them, right? They were the ones who will take these policies to poor people. Now, these officials were ill motivated. Their intentions were wrong in implementing these programs. In the sense, most of the government officials were corrupt, right? And side by side, some of the officials were not even trained. Okay, so these officials were not trained. So with such lot of people, right, people who are ill motivated and they are less trained, so resources were being used inefficiently, and most of the resources were wasted, right? So these schemes were meant for poor people, but actually their fruits were derived by rich people. So these were basically the, we say, drawbacks of this scheme, these schemes that were implemented by the government. So just to recap this slide again, so as I said that the three dimensional approach, just under this approach, we derived just one benefit, and the benefit was that there were some states who performed very well in reducing poverty, right? And these states were able to reduce the number of absolute poor. See, when I'm saying absolute poor, we have studied the concept of absolute poverty and relative poverty. So, absolute poverty means that in terms of numbers. Relative means when we compare one group of people with another group of people, or one person with another person. That is relative poverty. And in India, I have already told you that we are using absolute poverty. We use absolute poverty to measure poor people. Okay, so that is the number of absolute poor decreased. That was the we say proof, right, of we got from these states that poverty has really decreased. Another challenges, now we if we talk about the challenges, there were certain challenges faced under these programs. First was there was lack of resources, right? Lack of resources, as I made clear that poverty was increasing at a much faster rate than the increase in our resources. So because of that, what we faced, the problem we faced was poor people were not getting the resources in the required amount. Secondly, lack of infrastructure. The infrastructural facilities were very poor, which could not further generate more employment. So again, poor people were not in a position to get gainful employment. Gainful employment basically means that they are being paid reasonably for their work. Okay. Third was lack of active participation of poor people. So poor people were not coming forward to take the advantages, right? They were not ready to, let's say, take a step forward. Right? Government was making plans, government was ready with the resources, but to take the benefit of these resources, poor people were not motivated. Right? Then unequal distribution of assets. Unequal distribution of assets, basically the assets in the economy were not distributed equally. Rich landlords were in a position to retain large pieces of land with themselves, and so the benefits were taken away by the richer person. Improper implementation basically means that the poverty alleviation programs, basically the success of these programs depended on bank officials and the government, and these people were ill motivated, as again and again I'm saying. So because of that, the resources could not reach to the poor people, and there was wastage of resources. Right? So with this, people, the chapter here gets over. Right? Please go through them. If there are any doubts, send it on my email. I'm always open for your queries, and please maintain your registers. Next time, we'll just carry a surprise check. Right? All the best. Stay happy, stay healthy, take care of your parents, grandparents, spend time with them, and just send me the answers. Take care. Thank you.